coming in today. So I'm going to talk about the friendship of civilizations and how can we create a friendship toward war and terrorism, ecological disaster, and personal meaninglessness in our life that we see. So we're talking about three hot problems of today: war and terrorism, ecological disaster that we are all witnessing in our life, and then corporate greed and personal meaninglessness that is hitting us. So first of all, we need to understand, if we want to avoid these kind of problems, we need to first understand what causes war. And I'm going to quote from a famous book, a novel by John Fowles, which says, I'll tell you what war is. War is a psychosis caused by an inability to see relationships. Our relationships with our fellow men, our relationship with our economic and historical situations. Since we basically do not see the relationship, that's why war is possible. Now, why there is ecological disaster? Similarly, ecological disaster because we fail to see relationship among humans, other living things, and the whole non-living world of ecosystem. So we don't see interaction, relationship between all three components. Also, why so much environmental injustice? If you look at that, globally about 1.2 billion people live in areas with inadequate water supply. Now you think this is a distant problem only for the Africa or third world countries? Not so much so. In California, where I'm from, more than 1 million Californians don't have reliable access to clean water because of poverty. And that's why a couple of years ago, we actually passed a bill in California called Human Right to Water Bill. So the government can fund, make sure that there is reliable water supply for all people. And then if you look at the world, 800 million people go hungry every day. So what is the reason for all these things? Again, we have failed to see relationships among the rich and the poor. Okay? So we don't see relationship because we have lost connections. We have lost connections to our fellow men and women. That's why we could kill each other. We have lost connection to the earth, so that we can destroy the earth. And we have lost connection to our souls. The corporate greed and meaninglessness is pervading in our world. So I'm going to kind of share with you an ancient Indian wisdom that was manifested in a famous song from Disney, movie Pocahontas.
The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. We are connected to each other in a circle, in a loop that never ends. How can grow if you cut it down? Then you'll never know, and you'll never even try to pour food. Oh my God, we are white, so colored skin. We need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind.
So you can see we're all connected to each other, the entire world, all human beings, living and non-living things. And our loss of connection to all these things is causing these hard problems. So in order to solve those, we have to come up with some good ideas. Essentially, we need to understand we are living one earth, one destiny. What happens in the USA is going to affect somewhere in Bangladesh, in a coastal country, for climate change. A lot of poor countries are being affected by our habits that we do not take care of the environment properly. So, but the experts tell us otherwise. Experts say we are facing a clash of civilization, meaning that Samuel Huntington of Harvard actually wrote a book in 1991 where he talked about that the world of the future world after the Cold War will be divided along the civilizational lines. Hindu civilizations, Muslim civilizations, and all those things, and we are going to enter into a clash of civilization here now. But we cannot afford the clash. It's not possible for us to sustain the earth if we are fighting with each other always. So, religion has divided us, and created different camps in each other. For example, there is exclusivist thinking, where people think my religion is the only religion that is true. There are inclusivist thinking, where people think that my religion is right, your religion is okay, but you are inferior. And then there are atheists who say all religions are false, there is no God. So these are the kind of religious divide we have created among ourselves. It's not connecting. Some would come and say my religion is all peace, and some would come and say no, it's all violence. We kind of stimulate or kind of create a level for different religions at a different time period. So, and we are also in the business of anger. Let me show you something. The Senator Nancy Graham of South Carolina. This is the statement he made to Washington Post, that we are not generating enough angry white guys to stay in business for the long term, the Republican Party Senator. This is the kind of business of anger that we are basically seeing. This is a publication from a Muslim world where they accepted the inability of the clash of civilizations. So they are fighting with the Western world. The mindset is different. And then you can see these are kind of a mockery of Newsweek covers, on this one, the right cover. So the Jewish rage, Muslim rage, anti-Muslim rage, and the rage against God by the atheists. Everybody is angry, the business of anger. Can we really survive that way? So, how to diffuse all these angers of different religions and different cultures and civilizations? Obviously, through the dialogue. Now, how do we bring the dialogue? We know that dialogue creates friendship. And then, so I thought, okay, these days, friendship means Facebook, right? So if God had a Facebook, what would he do? Oops, I'm sorry. Drop this. So, can you hear me yet?
Yes.
So what I did, let me show you something here. So I said, okay, if God has a Facebook that would create a status update, and then we'll have a holy wall where God will post his scriptures, and we'll have a wall of mortals where we would post our comments as we have been doing for the last 5-7 years. So I compiled all the comments, and said, okay, we cannot accept the clash of civilizations. So I wrote a book called God's Face. 5,000 years of compendium of scriptures and collection from all religion to show the diversity, difference, and similarity. We have to accept all of those things. So I did that. So I said, okay, I need to build a house of friendship of civilizations. So I created a house of friendship of civilization based on dignity of difference, and I created 4 pillars. I'll explain to those to you, and overlapping consensus and compassionate God as a roof. How much time do I have? You have it. Okay. So I don't want to rush because some of the concepts I have to clarify to you what I have done. So dignity of difference is the foundation of this house of friendship of civilization, because we cannot afford the clash. So in this way, this is a quote from Swami Vivekananda, who spoke at the first World Parliament of Religions in 1893 in Chicago. He was a very famous speaker at that time, came from India. He said at that time that if the idea of a so if the idea that we find that universal religion is meant that one set of doctrines should be believed by all mankind, it is wholly impossible. It can never be, because there can never be one religion that takes over everything. Such a state of things can never come into existence. If it ever did, the world would be destroyed, because variety is the first principle. So you have to accept the variety of religions. Now then we talk about the 4 pillars. Geographic law essentially defines our religion. If I were to be born in India, I would be Hindu. If I'm born in Western world, I'd probably be Christian. So it's basically geographic law on which we have no control. So geography is the primary determinant of our religion. But every human being has a divine soul inside. That is said by Rumi, Vivekananda, and Walt Whitman, a great American poet. Now then we go to the personal character. What happens with the second pillar is that all religion extol the virtues of good deeds, humility, compassion, charity, love, and tolerance. We often talk about doctrines of religion, but don't look at ourselves and try to make ourselves a better human being by focusing on personal character. Third pillar is the honest communication. What happens is that no religion is all peace or all evil. But what happens, we try to hide the weakness of our religion from others. And that creates problem. Lack of honest communication creates distrust, and that could not define the friendship. And our understanding of sacred is incomplete. We should not believe that we have all the solutions in our hand. The fourth pillar is the religious pluralism pillar. That truth is one, sages call it variously, Rigbada, which is a 4,000-year-old document. And in the Quran, it says, the Muslim holy book, it says, for you, your religion, for me, my religion. But why fight? We need to have these kind of pillars to be able to build the house of friendship of civilization. Now, so I talk about overlapping consensus. This is a concept put forward by a famous Harvard professor, John Rawls. He said that mere tolerance of each other's ideology is not enough. Just to be tolerant is not enough. We need to find common ground. We must seek an overall consensus and agree to a set of principles to move forward in our life. And then overlapping consensus provides a framework for cooperation in a pluralistic society. So those are the overlapping consensus that keeps the house. Let me share with you some of the facts from in my God's Facebook, where I shown that compassion is the dominant idea in all religion. But all religions contain elements of war and peace. No religion is immune from those kind of things. For example, atheism and secularism also are no less violent than religions. Like what happened in Russia or Cambodia in the name of communism. You can see millions of people were killed. So if I had quoted from different scriptures, each of the scripture, the Quran, the Bible, and the old scriptures, everything has violent passages in there if you want to use them. Even if you look at the atheist, books, like End of, Religion book by the atheist, they also think that religious extremists are okay, which is the right thing to do. So with that in mind, the roof is the compassionate God of this house of friendship of civilization, because the principle of compassion is the heart of all religions. And then this compassion basically brings us, as you know, Karen Armstrong talked about the Charter of Compassion that has been signed by many states. So that's the principle that we need to be compassionate to each other. So with that kind of things, remember the song from Disney, the connections, connections, and the connections. Essentially, if we can connect with our fellow men and women through this kind of understanding of the house of friendship of civilization, we can stop war and terrorism. If we can connect to the planet Earth and other living and non-living things, then we could change our behavior to be able to help, stop the ecological disaster. And then the corporate greed, because a lot of industrialization happens, a lot of environmental disaster happens because corporations are not willing to bear the environmental cost or mitigate for the environmental issues. Myself being a water resources environmental engineer working in the field, I know how corporations are basically abusing the natural world to their benefit. So we need to, kind of come back to the spirituality to stop that corporate greed and connect with our soul through these practices of House of Friendship of Civilization. So this Facebook that I wrote is basically an attempt to strengthen those connections by showing the transcendent harmony among all religions. Differences and the similarity all needs to be presented here properly. So with that kind of idea, religion is a resource, for peacemaking. Swami Vivekananda, who spoke in the 1893 conference, he talked about, that religious ideas will have to become universal, vast, and infinite. And then alone, we should have the fullest way of religion, for the sometimes say that religions are dying out, the spiritual ideas are dying out of the world. To me, it seems that they have just begun to grow. When we come to the real spiritual universal concept, then and then alone, religion will become a real and living thing. It will come into our very nature, live in our every movement, penetrate every pore of our society, and infinitely more in power for good than it has ever before. This is his say in 1893. Look at 122 years later, we are again in the World Parliament of Religions, and we realize how true that is, that kind of a prediction. So with that, I would basically, this is his, the ending of his speech in 1893. Arise, awake, and stop not, till that goal is reached. So our goal is to create a friendship of civilization in this world, so we can move forward and thwart the war and terrorism, ecological disaster, and the corporate greed and personal meaninglessness. With that, I end my lecture.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saquib, for your very clear presentation. Now I open the floor for comments, short comments, and relevant questions, and short answers. Can I start first from here? I have seen 3 hands, now 4. If time permits, we will give you a chance, please.
Would you comment, please, on this idea? If we taught every child that you can't kill an idea by killing a person, that they would see the futility of adversarialism?
Of course they would, because, you need to live in an open society. You cannot kill a human being for an idea. Idea should be killed by another idea. If you don't like the idea, come up with a counter idea. Come up with an alternative solution. And challenge them on a human and intellectual level. Should not people, human life is too valuable for ideas. So that's what the principle should be. Respect human life.
Okay, the second, please.
I have actually a comment. I just read Plato again, and I discovered that in one of the great dialogues that Plato wrote, he had in Socrates' mouth, and this is something very important for us because we can see that we have progress, that war is good. Would you believe it? I could not believe that. Socrates, he had Socrates say war is good and the courage of warriors is great. So we have made some progress, and thank you for continuing with that progress.
Thank you. And it reminds me, in the plenary session a couple of days ago, Nobel laureate Goyer said, stop the war, there is no just war. So, Socrates, with all his greatness and all his respect, we need to think about the modern world and think about how our value system has evolved over time, because killing another human being cannot be justified for any reason.
But we have made progress.
Yes, we did make progress.
We are not saying that war is
That
good.
is
So
true.
we have made progress. That is the hope.
Excellent.
Yes, please, madam.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
My concern is that if the roof of your building is God, how does that include atheists or those who do not believe in the concept of God? Buddhists don't have a concept of God. Does that mean they can't have peace?
Well, they could. I think this is an important question. God is, for example, definition of God is very different in different religions. Buddhists, they have these principles. And again, I don't want to speak for Buddhists, I'm not an expert. Buddhism. If you look at their scriptures, you'll see they basically value something, value compassion significantly through their ahimsa principle, which means non-violence to all animals and living and non-living things. So that principle, the compassion, principle of compassion, that God is a notion that is created by many other theistic religions that believe in that. It's again the notion is compassion. It's not a body, person or any entity. It's essentially the principle that we really believe in compassionate principle.
And I agree with that. The use of the word God, the way most people define it, it's not the way I define it, but would keep them maybe from understanding what you're
I
talking about.
totally agree. That's a very good comment. You have a good point. I have to think about it.
Any other question, please?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saquib, for your presentation. I invite Edmund Robinson for his presentation. He is going to deliver his presentation on the phenomenon of evil. I do not know he likes evil or dislikes evil.
We lost it.
Yes, you are playing,
Yeah, I'm moving.
moving here and there.
So I lost the clip.
You
Lost what? Yeah.
It's okay, we just hold it. Anybody can send SMS